Here to introduce, as I said, a great friend of mine and of Jordan. Jim is a recent asset of the diplomatic and the international community in Jordan. He just joined us in 2015. I think it was in July, to head the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. His Excellency was recently completed an assignment as the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Bureau of Food and Security. And I think this is one subject we were talking about this morning, about how important is the situation for control, and I would like to seek your involvement in quality control on food, and maybe the USAID can be of help in that field. We need to develop our control agencies for food and medicine. And what his bureau is for, much larger perspective. It's for food security. But I think we need to start with what we talk about, for quality control on food. My friend Jim served as mission director in Albania, in Lebanon. He speaks very good Arabic, so don't try to make any comments in Arabic. He will understand you. And he has been also in Pakistan. Your Excellency, Ambassador of Pakistan, thank you for coming. And his education background is very impressive. He has a PhD in economics from Georgia State University, master's degree in international economics from Johns Hopkins. And he has a wonderful wife. She's a great lady. And we sometimes wonder who is the charmer, he or she.
She's the mudira.
She's the mudira. And I don't want to take your time any further. I just want to say I'm very proud that we have in Jordan a man of Jim's qualities and of Jim's heart. His heart is in the right place in serving this country. Thank you, Jim, for all what you're doing and what you plan to do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Talal. I have to say that it's truly an honor to be invited to speak at your Economic Development Forum. I don't know about the rest of you, but we have this ideal in America. It's the American dream, and if you're familiar with the American dream, it's every American, no matter where they are, they know the American dream. The American dream is that any individual, no matter what their background, what their education level, what life has given them, if they apply themselves hard, if they have commitment, dedication, and vision, they can rise to the very top. And to me, you are the ideal of the American dream, sir. So you're an inspiration, and it's an honor to be here with you. So I'm going to try to talk quickly, because I think the value of this session is to have the question and answer time at the end. And so I'm going to try to give you guys a brief overview of USAID. So I'm going to talk about a partnership, the partnership between the United States and Jordan. And it is a partnership that has endured over nearly 6 decades in terms of assistance programs, beginning in 1957. And when you look back at some of the history of that partnership, it's really something. It's in 1957 that Jordan embarked very seriously upon designing the King Abdullah Canal, which, as we all know, became one of the main vehicles for irrigation and farming in the Jordan Valley. And the United States and Jordan were right there at the very beginning of the design and implementation of that. And that's just the very beginning of a partnership that has been truly amazing. And Jordan is an incredibly important partner for the United States, and that is seen across the U.S. government. And it's reflected in the size of the program here. For USAID, Jordan is the number 2 USAID program in the world. Number 2. The only country that has more funding is Afghanistan. So that is indication of the importance that we as the U.S. government place in our partnership with the Jordanian people and the Jordanian government. So let's see if this works. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick overview of our overall strategy. I'm then going to delve into 2 of the sectors in which we work. Talal had said he really wants us to focus tonight on the economic development programs and our education programs. So I'm going to touch on those in more depth. But before then, I do want to talk a little bit about the bigger picture and what we're doing here. We are very serious within USAID about how we do strategy development. And we spend a lot of time thinking about focus, both in terms of the words that we use and then how that's implemented in the field. And so this is the strategic goal that we, USAID, has for Jordan with our program in partnership. And that's that improved prosperity, accountability, and equality for a stable, democratic Jordan. And that's important, the prosperity, accountability, and equality. So we have a number of sectors, and like I said, I'm going to spend most of the time on the economic development and education sectors, but I do want to spend a few moments speaking about a few of the others as well. So we have a democracy and governance program that's been in effect, well, since I was here last time. I was here from 2001 to 2005, heading the Economic Growth Office, and so when Talal talks about, describes me as a friend of Jordan, that is absolutely true. And when it came time for me to decide where to go next, this was the number 1 place that I wanted to come back to. So yes, democracy and governance programs were something that we established when I was here last, and I think it was 2003. Salal Bashir was the Minister of Justice at the time. And that program focuses on everything from supporting Jordan through elections, and this next year is going to be a critical year for elections in 2016 and 2017, and local governance programs where we try to work with local communities from the municipality level up through the regional levels, trying to help with service delivery, systems capacity, and other elements that focus on service delivery to the average Jordanian. We have population and family health programs, and those have been in existence for decades, and I'm sure you have been to a number of hospitals, clinics around the country in which we've done quite a bit of work with the Ministries of Health on refurbishments, expansions, equipment. It really is a partnership that's deep and abiding. We have our water resources and environment sector is, as I noted, began in 1957 and continues to this day. Jordan's water scarcity problem is known to everyone in this room, so we don't need to talk about it. And yet, it continues to be a top priority for us. And so we have everything from working on water supply issues, whether that's in the past the Zara-Mayin types of programs, or wastewater treatment, Samra. So we are very, very committed and will continue to be committed to the water sector on the supply and the demand side. We've added gender most recently to one of our strategic goals because it's clear that if Jordan doesn't tackle the gender participation, particularly in the workforce, and get women more heavily involved in the economy, it's always going to be held back. And so we have programs that are trying to focus on how we bring women both in the public sector and private sector. Right now we have an activity where we are training selected women who are at mid or upper levels in the public sector on leadership training to help them get to that level of being Secretary Generals and other positions within government. And so far that's going very well, and the Minister of Public Sector Development has been a big champion. And of course there's one program in here that's not listed, but it's really under kind of a macroeconomic stability, and that's the annual cash transfer that we do. where we work with the Ministry of Planning and other ministries to develop a key set of policy goals for the year. And then when those goals are completed, we then transfer various amounts of money to the government. This past year it was $231 million that we signed in September. So, one of the things that constantly keeps me up at night, or forces me to always rethink what we're doing, is trying to balance the long-term and the short-term strategic goals of the U.S. government and working with the Jordanians. The long-term, short-term. So we have long-term programs. In fact, all the sectors that I talked about and the ones that I will talk about, those are long-term programs. But again, as everyone knows, Jordan right now is facing a major crisis with the Syrian civil war next door. And it has taken on an international global public good in welcoming Syrian refugees, and that has had an impact across social sectors of the economy and has reverberated across the political spheres. And so we have done quite a bit in our own programming to shift and refocus, to pivot our programming to try to support the Jordanian communities that are hosting the refugees. And so I just throw three examples out here. Whether it's we're right now in the middle of expanding or supporting the expansion of Princess Rahma Hospital by 35%. It's the only pediatric hospital in the north. We're working with host communities in Mafraq, Irbid, and other areas in the north, trying to help them figure out what are the key priorities facing those municipalities and how we can provide citizen-level participation to try to tackle those issues. And water, of course. We're working very much on the water supply and wastewater, whether it's the Samaya pump station, the Zatri Hofa pipeline, and the Mafraq wastewater treatment plant. It's affecting over 1.7 million people in the north. And so those are short-term, key priority programs that we are now focusing on, in addition to trying to balance that long-term program goals that I'm about to discuss. And I do want to say that I give the Jordanian government, His Majesty particularly, great credit for coming out with this Jordan Compact that the government is going to roll out in London this Thursday. It's a major shift in the way we as in the international community and as potential host countries around the world can look at how you deal with refugees. And so as an international donor, I've made it very clear that it's incumbent upon us to try to figure out how we put everything we can to make the Jordan Compact a success. And so that's certainly one of the things that I've been trying to push both within our own system, within the U.S. government, and also among the donor partners. So I'm very anxious to see how the February 4th meeting goes in London, and I know we all are. Okay, so we'll move into education then. So our goal here is working to improve learning outcomes. And just a quick quote from His Majesty. Our keenness is to invest in our citizens' education and training to create a generation of forward-looking young people who are equipped with the skills necessary to analyze, innovate, and excel. I love that quote. It makes it so clear that where His Majesty's vision is not to focus Jordanian education on improving children for the sake of kind of local advancement. He's recognizing that education is a global competitive edge. And if we're not thinking about how to educate Jordanian children in a way that they're competing with children or young people around the world, then we're missing an opportunity. And that is exactly how we have addressed our education program. So we're doing two basic pieces on our education program. We're looking at improving learning outcomes, and we're trying to focus on skills and opportunities for Jordan's workforce. And so I'll get into a little bit more detail with each one of those. So in terms of improving learning outcomes, we have a whole series of projects involved in school construction, expansion, and renovation. So in the last few years, we've completed 28 new schools, rehabilitated and expanded 97 schools. And over the next few years, looking forward, we're going to be building an additional 25 and expanding nearly 300 schools expansions and renovations. And we're also looking at kindergarten building and sports facilities. This is one of those projects which overlaps the short term and the long term. The Jordanian government has been very clear with us on the desperate need to get more classrooms in to allow for the Syrian refugee children to be able to be educated in the formal system. We agree with that. I think the current estimate is the need is around 5,000 classrooms needed over the next few years. Our program will build approximately 2,000 of those 5,000 classrooms needed. So it's an immediate issue that's being driven by the current crisis, and yet it's also an investment in the long-term future of this country. So it's a wonderful program for us that overlaps that short and long-term goal. Now, on the increasing skills and opportunities for Jordan's workforce, we've also been looking at how we can help young people get into the workforce through training. And so the Fundukiya schools, if you're familiar with those, are designed to try to educate or give Jordanian young people an opportunity to get into the hospitality industry. We've got 2 of those that have been renovated, and we have one that's the first one for women for only women. Whoops, went the wrong direction. Excuse me. And then we're also working with the vocational training centers across the country, and we'll be upgrading and renovating, or we've already upgraded and renovated 15 of those, and we're going to be adding to that. So the raising the quality of education. So now we're looking at getting inside the actual system of how Jordanian children are learning in the school. And so recently, this past year, we've launched our nationwide campaign with the Ministry of Education in the lead to look at how we do early learning education within the school. So it's really focused on teacher training, the quality of the teachers within the schools. And I think just this past week, we have started a program where we're doing teacher training in Karak, Zarqa, Jarash, and Ajlun. And so every single teacher in those 4 governance are getting in the middle of 4 governance. Sorry, you know what? I should introduce my colleagues here. So Nancy Eslick is our deputy mission director. Next to her is Louis Tatum, our deputy mission director. Let's see, Russ Bauer is our economic growth director. Ragini is here from our U.S. Embassy Public Affairs. Did I miss anybody else? I should point anybody. See, that the people that actually know what they're talking about are sitting out here. So I just look at them and they either go, no, or try something else, Jim. No, it's good. So we're doing this teacher training with all the K through 3 students in those 4 governance, and then that will take place over the next few weeks. We're then going to follow up with coaching with them, mentoring, where they're going to be following up with these teachers throughout the year to see if they're using this new pedagogical approaches to trying to improve the quality of the education process. We've also worked on psychosocial skills with teachers, particularly those in the north that have had to deal with refugee families, children that have seen pretty horrific things, and so that has been very good. We've been working with Queen Ranya's Teacher Academy to see that happen. And we've provided approximately 10,000 youth with vocational training programs. So that's it on the education and workforce development. Now on economic development, again, I'm going to return to His Majesty. Jordan is committed to a prosperous future, and measures are being strengthened to support startups, business expansion, and market-ready skills. Again, it's a focus on the future. It's when I was here last time, in 2001 to 2005, there was a real sense of energy from His Majesty on the ICT and other technologies. I mean, that was when we did the Reach One initiative, and there was all the privatization of the telecoms, or there was privatization of the telecom, and then the opening of the markets for the cellular system. And there's been quite a bit of progress in that, but I think there's quite a bit more to go. So we're helping to improve and increase the economic stability, and you can see those 5 elements that we're trying to address: competitiveness, the workforce, as we talked about before, tourism, Jordan's highest or most important sector in terms of GDP, tourism is critical. And then renewable energy and fiscal reform. And I'll talk very, very briefly about each because I think I'm running behind. So on the competitiveness, we've identified 3 specific sectors that we think have a great potential here. Clean energy, and that's any kind of technology that promotes renewables and other types of clean energy. Healthcare and life sciences, particularly medical tourism, we see that as a growth area for Jordan, and then ICT. We do a lot of piloting, trying to coax the private sector and other investments into these fields. And so if you remember last fall, I think there was the launch of the first solar-powered electric charging facility over at the iPark, I believe, King Hussein Business Park. And so we funded that as a way to try to get private sector interested in this. And we're now working with the Danish Technological Institute at the King Hussein Business Park to convert it to a fully smart campus, so pure solar enabled. We're also working with Oasis 500 through the King Abdullah Fund. If you know Oasis 500, it's about trying to find and then grow great ideas into great businesses, and so they have a number of startups that are really impressive, including Talal Abu-Ghazaleh, right? Which I guess last week won the battle in terms of who had the better assessment on the weather of last week. And we're also working with the Jordan Investment Commission, and we're doing work with them on a 3-year strategy on promotion and implementation, and that's going to be key. Again, I'm going to go back to this Jordan Compact again and again, because one of the elements of the Jordan Compact is to try to get international investment into the country through a number of vehicles. But one of the things that the international community has come back to again and again with the government of Jordan is to say the investment climate has to be better. It needs to be more efficient, it needs to be more transparent, and anything that the government of Jordan can do to make it easier for an international company to invest will make it far more likely that the compact can succeed. And we believe fully in that sentiment and are putting our resources behind that. Then on the workforce development, you can see some of the things we've done here in terms of the Madaba Mosaic Art Institute, the Clean Tech Center in Man, and then the work that we've done on the hospitality industry in terms of training 12,000 vocational training corporation students in that field. And as far as our numbers go, one of the things that I've really been impressed with, that you say, okay, 12,000, that's great, but how many actually got jobs? Our figures show that about 76% of them got jobs and are still working in that field, which is really something. So moving forward, we're going to be working with chambers of commerce. We've just signed MOUs with Zarqa. Let's see, help me out here, guys. It was Zarqa, Urbid, and East Amman. So we now have in those chambers of commerce employment promotion units, and the idea is these units are going to link up interested job seekers with jobs, and then make sure that they've got the proper training to get there. So it's, in other words, and this is one of the things that we have to claim as our own mistake in the past, is as a development experts, we had a tendency to focus on the supply side. So we would do everything we could to up the training. But training without a job at the end is really just, well, it was a nice few months that they spent getting trained, right? So now we're trying to make sure that anything we do links from the start of the training to the job at the end. And so that's the critical part of having the chambers of industry involved in this particular exercise. With the students, working with students in universities, we're using social media to try to help the students keep up with their job search. And that's including using WhatsApp and Facebook, SMS, many things that I don't quite understand. But it's a great way to maintain some tracking of how the students are doing in terms of their searching. Energy, renewable energy is a big focus for us now. I think that Jordan seems to have turned a corner in that respect. We've got there's more and more coming out every day. We've set up as pilots what do we call PV systems at the ministries of planning, customs office. And customs office is a particularly interesting one because they're now generating enough energy off their solar that they don't pull any energy off the grid. So they're fully independent. And we're going to continue to roll out those kinds of pilots. Tourism. So we have been big investors in tourism in Jordan. Again, it's the largest contributor to GDP. We see it as one of the great attractions to the country to get foreign currency in. And if you've been to Jarish, you know that there's a recent visitor center that we just finished supporting the building of, and the Petra Visitor Center as well. There are many things that we've done. But at the moment, what we're trying to do is shift the focus away from the big boys, shift them away from Petra, Jarish, and try to figure out how we have a strategy which keeps the tourist in Jordan longer, seeing more of the amazing things that are here, whether it's Qais or Jamal or Rasas. And so our current tourism program is figuring out how we upgrade those facilities or how we work with marketing companies to get the tourists to realize that there's so much more here and that they can stay longer and really enjoy Jordan for longer, and as well as on the environment as well. Fiscal reform. His Excellency Abu Hamur remembers when we were talking about this program back in 2003, 2004, we launched the first fiscal reform program working with the Ministry of Finance. That has continued. We've recently been working with the government on rolling out, and I think it's mostly finalized, the GIFMIS, the Global Financial Management Information System. Government! Thank you. Government Financial Management Information System. And are also working with customs in terms of the single window payer, trying to make it easier for goods to get into the country and out. And we have a program, a new one that will be launched later this spring. And then on innovation, it's about small and medium enterprises, micro, small, and medium enterprises. And so we are working, our current program, like the workforce development, is not just about focusing on the companies or the would-be companies, but it's figuring out what their potential market niche is and helping them get links with buyers. And so, for instance, the most recent success we've had is linking the Il Andalus dairy farm. It's run by the Cattle Farmers Association in Irbid with Safeway. And so Safeway is now purchasing the products, the dairy products from this factory. And they're earning 100,000 JD a year, which is not bad. And then in Man, we've got, because you did ask a little bit on Man, isn't it? Good. All right. So we're working with the vocational training centers there. We've got, we recently trained 29 solar technicians to be able to start working in that area. We've financed 3 loans for some small businesses there, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. Okay, I think that's good. We'll sit here.
On this occasion, present you for memory sheet. Thank you for an excellent presentation, and of course we welcome comments and questions. But I'd like, before we close, that the particular part on Ma'an is of special interest to me and to His Majesty, of course, before me, actually under his guidance to all of us and to everybody who is Jordanian. I'm receiving tomorrow the leaderships of the Ma'an community in order to see what we can do for Ma'an. And I would like that section, fish salt. I would like tomorrow, when Tariq, I'd like the Ma'an part of the presentation to be circulated tomorrow at the meeting with the Ma'an leadership. Ahmad Bidat on? Ahmad was here. who's in charge of our operations in Ma'an anyway, so you coordinate with Ahmad also that we make sure that this is translated tonight before we meet tomorrow with the Ma'an leadership to demonstrate what USAID is particularly doing for Ma'an. That's one. Number two, I would seek your permission to put your presentation online and to have it also printed and circulated for educating the community on the partnership of USAID with Jordan. And of course we will be issuing a press release on this meeting for media circulation, so that we have taken some notes myself, highlighting the focus of USAID, and particularly I didn't know this. I learned from the beginning that Jordan is the second receiver of USAID in the world. This is very, very significant. It's not just a statement. It means much more than a statement. And we thank you. I appreciate this applaud of appreciation for the contribution of the United States of America and of USAID. Thank you very much. Any comments?
Before you do, just
go ahead.
This is really more between us, but we'll be going next week. So the Minister of Planning did a series of governance meetings last August and September. I think all of you remember that. It was in the paper. He went around, and when he came back, he called us in and said, I want you now to follow up. And so we've been going around, myself and the senior staff, and meeting with all the governors and their staff, talking about the USAID programs within their governance, and having this very frank discussion, quite honestly, and what they like about what we're doing, what they don't like about what we're doing, what we can do better. And so I say that only because Sunday we'll be doing that presentation with the governor in Ma'an. So you're setting them up for the presentation next week.
Excellent.
Good evening. My name is Samar Iran. Thank you very much for your valuable information you briefed us. Is South of Jordan excluded from the USAID's development plans like Tafila city? And what about the canal you mentioned? Is it the one from Aqaba to Dead Sea? When they will begin and when they will be ready?
We'll take a round of questions so that we, let's take first a round of questions and we'll give answers after every round. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Philomena Nassar. Thank you, Mr. Abu-Ghazaleh, Dr. Abu-Ghazaleh, and thank you, Mr. Jim of USAID. Saying that Jordan is the second country in terms of benefiting from the USAID funds. To me, it's a sword of two ends. One end is a positive one, where the country is able to receive more funds from USAID, and accordingly they can implement different needed programs, which as a result should pour and benefit the local economy. The other end of this sword is negative in my own perspective, which is translated in having 59 years of funds coming into the country. Still, the economy is vulnerable. How could the USAID help and assist our beloved Jordan having a sustainable and a stable economy with regards to all what is going on in the region, whether in helping the host communities, as you just said, or helping the refugees? How could you convert this vulnerable economy into a more sustainable one? And how could you help us achieving our dream, the Jordan way, with all the respect to the American dream, but our way? Thank you.
Let's take the ladies. I'm very encouraged because we have many ladies today.
First, I would like to thank our great Talal Abu-Ghazaleh for this opportunity, which is very much timely. given all the circumstances, whether local, regional, or international. I hope our guest Jim is tolerant enough to tolerate our questions, because starting with education, it is such a strong belief that any country who is serious in introducing reforms.
I don't know if I heard the name.
Madeleine Metzagovia.
And because for the recording.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Of course. About education, because, considering all these reforms, we consider that any country who is serious attending to its education is heading towards development and socio-economic political development. But nevertheless, I would like to ask you refer mainly to infrastructure, building schools, but hardly touched upon one crucial issue. Jordan is one of the first countries who signed the International Convention for People with Disabilities in 2008. And here I would like to know how much you're putting emphasis on the issue of inclusion and accessibility, because unfortunately most our schools, especially the public sector, is very much lack of such facility. Second, how much you are putting emphasis on the content curriculum, because there has been a lot of calls by the schools in Jordan that we need all the efforts concerted in order to de-radicalize our culture. And in continuation to the lady's question about Jordan being the second receiver of American funds, I so much recall taking an example of one of the projects. In fact, it's not purely attending to the needs of Jordan, because considerable percentage of your funds, in a way, is dedicated to in recruiting American experts and expertise, while you can very well contribute in overcoming our unemployment, because Jordan has great brains and skills, unfortunately not being attended by fund givers like yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we go. Yes, sir.
First of all, I would like to thank you very much, sir, for your excellent presentation. Secondly, I want you to give us a brief about your contribution on the poverty alleviation programs, particularly in the southern parts of Jordan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I love that. تفضل سيدي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يقول الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: من لا يشكر الناس لا يشكر الله. وأنا بداية أشكر عطوفة الأخ الفاضل شيخ المشايخ في أردننا الحبيب على إقامة مثل هذه الندوات البناءة وفي كافة المجالات المختلفة. عطوفة الشيخ طلال أبو غزالة لكافة القطاعات المختلفة. وأرجو أن أختم في هذه المناسبة أن أشكر برضو معالي الأخ الفاضل الدكتور جواد عناني الذي كرم لواء الكورة بزيارة إلى اللواء بتاريخ 30/5/91 وأوجد مستشفى في اللواء الذي كان اللواء لا يوجد فيه طبيب جراح، وتوفي أحد المواطنين من لسعة نحلة لعدم وجود طبيب جراح. شيء ثالث، أتمنى الشكر كمان لعطوفة الأخ الفاضل مدير الوكالة الأمريكية الأستاذ جيم، وأتمنى أن يزور الألوية ليس المحافظات بس كما أشار عطوفته. وأتمنى من عطوفة الأخ الفاضل برضو كمان طلال أبو غزالة أن يكون للشمال حصة كما هو للجنوب. ولدي ملاحظات كثيرة حول المواضيع التعليمية. لست أنا من القطاع التعليمي وأنا موظف سابق وزارة الخارجية الأردنية، وإنما أنا أوجدت الامتحان التوجيهي في يوم بعد يوم، كان ذلك ب 1/5/86، والقروض الطلابية في الجامعات 23/11/98، وامتحان الكفاءة ب 15/10/2003، وبناء المدارس في عمان وغيرها. بناء المدارس ألويتنا بحاجة ماسة جدا إلى الكثير من بناء المدارس. أرجو زيادة المنح الدراسية لبناء المدارس، وهناك ملاحظات على زيادة سعادة السفيرة الأخت الفاضلة أليس ويلز بتاريخ 20/4/2015 عندما زارت محافظة إربد والتقت مع 300 شخصية من أبناء الشمال وصرحت من خلال الصحف المحلية بأنها على استعداد لتقديم كافة الخدمات سواء كانت طرقية أم صحية أم تعليمية أم مائية. ولذلك أتمنى من عطوفتك تأكيد على سعادة السفيرة بتقديم هذه المنح، وشكرا. وهناك ملاحظات بشكل خاص: مضاعفة المنح الدراسية والطلاب الأردنيين الذين يرغبون بالدراسة في أمريكا، ومضاعفة القروض والمنح المالية للأردن الحبيب، والقبول للهجرات الطبيعية التي تقدمها الحكومة الأمريكي في كل عام، والمضاعفة التأشيرات للعمل وليس للسياحة فقط، من أجل تعليم اللغة الإنجليزية التي أشارت إلى سعادة السفير في ندوة سابقة قبل 5 أشهر في هذا المكان. وبذل المساعيك الحميدة لكل الجهات الأمريكية المختصة على تقديم كافة المساعدات للأردن الحبيب. وأدعو سعى عطوفتك مع شيخ المشايخ طلال أبو-غزالة، مع معالي الدكتور جواد عناني وكافة الحضور لزيارة لواء الكرة بعد 10/3 حيث الجمال الطبيعة والجو الهادئ. وشكرا.
بارك الله فيك. أنا أقبل الدعوة وأتشرف.
إلا الشرف إصالة عن نيابة
بتشرف.
الكرة دعوتكم جميعا.
بتشرف. We take 2 questions. Two more questions. 3 4 وبس بنسكر 6 5. Okay. There is so much demand.
Now or second round?
Let's answer and then go second round.
Okay. All right. All right. There are very many good questions. So let me. There's a couple of themes I'd like to hit on that I think we'll try to address some of the questions. I like the question about the American experts, and we need to be doing more with Jordanian experts with our programs. That is a criticism that we have heard for many years within both USAID and other development partners as well, that the programs are supporting more American companies and American experts than local. Over this past 5 to 6 years...
do you need translation or you need the mic? The mic closer.
Do you want me to stand?
Right, or use the microphone.
Better? Okay. So the question about the hiring of experts, it's a great one, and it's one that we've been discussing, sorting through as development professionals for many years. It's the balance between wanting to bring expertise for certain kinds of skills in a certain kind of area versus getting those resources to local experts when they can do them. And I would like to say that over the last 5 years, USAID has undergone something of a revolution in this regard. If you're at all involved in the development world, you know there was a Paris Declaration of 2005 which talked about trying to restructure the way the international community does development, and it was all about aligning development priorities with host government priorities, using host government systems or host country systems, doing direct relationships with host country private sector, host country civil society, and host country governments. And so the Obama administration, certainly and particularly under our previous administrator, Ross Shaw, has made that a centerpiece of our programming. And we call that the local solutions. And so if you look at our programs now versus the programs 10 years ago, I think you would see a sea change in terms of it. We are, in fact, when a new program is coming up, one of the first questions I ask is, who are the local partners that we can work with directly? If there's that expertise exists, then that's what we want to try to do. And they've made it easier for us to do the contracting and the grant making through this new program. It used to be very hard. But now there's a system in place that we have put in that is designed to help facilitate the assessment of the organizations, these local organizations, private sector, public sector. We have to look at the financial management systems because we're under very strict guidelines from our government and from the Congress that provides us the funding to make sure that all the funds go exactly as planned and that the audits can be done in a very clear and transparent manner. And so when we have local partners, again, public sector or private sector, then that's where we want to try to put our resources. So that's a great question, and it's exactly what we're trying to do with our current programming. But it's a nice segue into the question about sustainability and trying to build systems that have long-term growth. One of the great, it's very rare within USAID to get to come back to a place where you've been. Usually they just keep moving us around the world, and we have to relearn a new place every 2 to 3 years. To be here from 2001 to 2005 and then come back has been enlightening for me, because it's helped me see where our investments we made back then have really paid off in terms of sustainability. And so, for instance, so in my last job I was doing Russ's work. I was the head of the Economic Growth Office. And at that point, if you guys remember, back then it was the start of AZESA, the Special Economic Zone. And so we came in after the World Bank, USAID, and worked with Talal Abu-Ghazaleh and the folks at AZESA to really help them figure out, provide the expertise on how you stand up this new organization, how you make it investor-friendly. And then we took a big risk, quite honestly, and we put some funds aside to help establish the Aqaba International Industrial Estate. And that's a big gamble when you put that kind of money into infrastructure, particularly an industrial state, which, Aqaba back then, there wasn't a lot going on, right? There was the port, there was 2 or 3 hotels, and it was very sleepy. And to come back 10 years later and see how far along Aqaba's come, the industrial state has expanded, and they just signed a new agreement with the Chinese to double capacity. They're looking at 3,000 to 5,000 employees over the next few years. That's the sustainable kind of approach that we need to do. And it's the same thing with water systems. Isamra, the wastewater treatment plant in Isamra, we modeled a new program back in 2003, 2004 when we were getting started, which was to attempt to bring in a private sector manager to help manage, to make sure that Isamra's wastewater treatment facility was running in a very systematic, profit-centered way. And the Millennium Challenge Corporation came in after us, and they've just expanded it further, so that Isamra is now handling 70% of Jordan's wastewater. That's a sustainable development result. That is continuing. And so your question is a great one, and it's one of the things that, as a development professional, we're constantly trying to figure out. We have very incredibly Byzantine approach to project management, and we have all these kinds of questions that we have to answer before we agree to submit funds. One of those questions is, what's the exit strategy? How can you prove that this is sustainable? And if we can't, then we have to step back and try again. So sometimes we get it right and sometimes we don't, but that is certainly one of the priorities for us. So, and I think you asked the question about the Southern strategy, and there was another question also about the South. The South is very important to us. We're going down to Man next week, and then we'll follow up with a visit to Tafila. We have programs on both across all of our sectors, whether it's democracy, governance, water, health, and education. But it's an interesting period at the moment because of the Syrian crisis. All of us are looking to support the North. But your point is very well taken, and one in which I guess it goes back to what I was trying to say before, which is one of the balancing acts that I try to continue to put in my head is how do we balance the short-term immediate needs that the Syrian crisis is putting on this country versus the long-term development needs of places like Tafila, Ma'an, and Para, for instance. So there's a tension there, and we're constantly trying to sort that out. But we haven't forgotten about the South at all. In fact, Aqaba's, I feel like, is my second home. I spent so much time down there 4 years ago. I love going back. Your second question was the Red Dead. Red Dead.
You mentioned something about the canal. Do you mean the one, Bahrain Canal?
King Abdullah Canal, the one that was 1957, yes. Yeah. For the war. Yeah. So it was I missed it.
Because there is another canal from Aqaba to Dead Sea.
Yes, okay, that's the Red Dead Canal. Right. So that's a different canal. And so U.S., we're still in discussions with the government on the Red Dead. That's just now beginning, this idea of trying to do a major desalination plant in Aqaba, and then working how to get, moving that water to where it's needed in the north, and then transferring of the brine that's in the desal plant to the Dead Sea and tried to save it. It's a very complicated process, obviously. There's lots of interesting players talking about environmental issues that need to be addressed. The engineering needs to be addressed. We're very much engaged with it in our 2016 budget. The Congress said, the U.S. government's very interested in this, and so we've set aside some funds to help it, pending the answering to all of these kinds of questions in terms of the environment and engineering and such. So we're in a funny position where we're saying, yes, we are ready to be a partner in helping figure this out, but there's some very important issues that need to be worked out first. And the Minister of Water is fully on board with this. Hazem Nasser was, he's done that job for years, and so he's an excellent partner. Let's see. What other questions? Disabilities, yes. The disability, in the same way we talk about sustainability, we talk about how our programs affect gender dynamics, so we make sure that our programs are affecting or having an opportunity to support women in addition to men, whatever we do. We have the same kind of criteria for all of our programs in terms of disability. And I don't think I'm wrong when I say that all the schools that we work on and build have to meet disability entry standards. And so all the schools have ramps, they have capability to allow students to come in whatever their to participate in no matter what their disability.
And two of the 25 schools will be for deaf children.
2 of the 25 schools that I mentioned that we'll be doing in the future are for deaf. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, maybe we go for the second round.
Okay. Did I miss anybody?
Okay. Here. I thank you. I don't want to waste time. I appreciate it.
Name, please, name.
Name, Rifat Al-Farhan. That's my name. First of all, I fully appreciate the support. If I do some points of trying to improve, it's not. The idea is, in education is the most important venue in Jordan. And tying it to economics is the life of Jordan. Jordan, its asset is people. And that asset, throughout the last 50 years, was very successful. In the last 20, 25 years, there's a lot of things we don't want to look back and we don't want to talk about negative things. Let's look what education needs today. It needs reform, no rehabilitation, a major reform. That reform includes building an infrastructure, having the skill set,
Chinese reception to attend.
doing syllables from A to Z. We want to teach people logic. We want to teach them math. We want to teach them how to think. We want to teach them sports, to lose and win, to share. We want to teach them to art, so appreciate and enjoy life. This has to be major overhaul. It's not just secondary. What I recommend from the USAID, do a roadmap, please. Involve all the stakeholders. People who write the syllables are not just guys sitting in their offices. Community has to be involved. The school is a social center. The parents are more important as the teachers. The classroom is the world. This is what we want to do. This is what we need. And this is, the output will go to universities. The role of Jordan in this area, and that's another very important, there are 30 million students in this region who are not going to schools, my friend. If we put this program online, we can benefit guys in Iraq and Syria and in West Bank and in Jordan. We want to teach our kids, otherwise we will have a lot of trouble.
Thank you very much. Let's give a chance to the youth. To the youth here and there. Okay.
Good evening. This is Ramzi Mansour from Jordan Aircraft Maintenance. This is the first time we participate in such event. I would like to thank TAG for the invite and the USAID for this wonderful brief. Listening to the comments from the local community, I could understand that the community perceives the USAID as probably a magical wand where people bring their wish list to the table. What we were aiming from our participation here today is to understand how can we, the way we look at it, this is a partnership thing, which should mean a push-pull approach. and we were keen to understand more how can we be on board, how can the private sector particularly be on board, how can we get engaged, how can we participate.
Thank you very much. Next here, and then we move. Yes, I see you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to make it very short. Where does it lies the role of USAID in total waste management system in Jordan that we are going through, especially solid waste? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a very brief question. Okay. The ladies, the two ladies, and we close, and then Fadi will be the last. Okay? Two ladies there. All right.
Hi, my name is Malal Aqili. I'm a member in the Economic Policy Forum. I have one question. What's the long-term strategy to tackle the food security in Jordan after the American grant of 25.1 million of wheat to Jordan is coming on February? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sina Abu-Ghazaleh. I work with Fursa.com, and we at Fursa, we try to break the cycle of elitism in reaching out to opportunities. So we reach out to the youth in Jordan and in the MENA region. And what we've noticed is that the youth need the capacity in order to receive the opportunities. So what we'd like to know is how are you contributing with your project in giving the enough capacity to the youth from the south or the north, or from the not so, the youth in bad socioeconomic situations. But how do you guarantee that the projects that you do will contribute into their education and will allow them to have the equal opportunity as the other students from other cities?
Thank you very much. Last intervention. Mr. Fadi Dawood.
Good evening. My name is Fadi Dawood. I'm a member in the Economic Policies Development Forum. First, allow me to welcome you, Your Excellency, Mr. Tim, and our humble venue, and indeed you are a guest of honor, and thank you for this opportunity for being here with us. Allow me first also to set myself as a live witness for USAID efforts in Jordan. Myself, I started working for the US mission in Jordan in general back in 2003, where I served with the Financial Management Office. I served for the Iraq Support Unit. I moved to the Peace Corps, US Peace Corps, and since 2008 up to date, I served for the Jordan Healthcare Accreditation Project, the Jordan Fiscal Reform Project, and now I work for RAMP, Reading Early Grades Reading and Math Project. So I can see as a Jordanian who served within the mission the real tangible impact of the efforts and the technical assistance that has been provided along these years. Of course, I didn't witness the 50 years, but at least the time I served here, I really witnessed as an individual where is the impact of that. Also, I guess one part of my comment or question has been already raised or answered by your kind self regarding sustainability. But also I would like to hear your envision or USAID's envision regarding exit strategy. This is something that has been recently raised, also has been questioned, and even USAID are asking for the coming projects to tell exactly what kind of an exit strategy. Even the government of Jordan, where we became as Jordanian government or as Jordanians so reliable and relying on US aid efforts and technical assistance and funds in recruitment, in procurement, and all these kind of services where the government or whoever USAID is supporting is always relying and throwing back on USAID shoulders that they can support it, they can fund it, and so on. Which is creating the sustainability issue. That USAID is pushing to build the capacity and the technical capacity of the Jordanian government, local NGOs, civil society, but also there is a reliance in that. So it's a kind of a development trap that I can call it. So what do you think there is an exit strategy that can take us out from continuous projects like Fiscal Reform 1, then 2, then there's upcoming 3. There was Tourism 1, 2, and there's 3, and for health systems strengthening. Also there's a continuation, whether the same or different names or different scopes. How does USAID really envision the exit strategy that really takes us out or build on what we have and continue on a different spectrum, different horizon. Thank you.
Yes. Tough question. Tough question. Okay, answers.
All right. No, those are great questions. Let's do the easy ones first. So, Ramzi? Yeah. So in terms of Jordanian firms interested in working with USAID, we are very encouraging of that, and we need. Unfortunately, we didn't bring our contracts team here tonight, but we can. I know on our website we have. I think I'm looking to the team here to make sure that we've got this on the website. For firms interested in doing business with us, there's a link that will take you into a piece. I'll give you my card too. You can always write, and we can help with that. It might. You also point to a fact that I think that's good for us, that we might want to be doing more regular outreach to the Jordanian private sector civil society on how you can partner with us and do these kinds of. That's easy to do. It's easy to do these sessions. You know, people come to see me regularly, you know, wanting to do a first-time grant or something with USAID, and I say, very careful what you ask for, because this is the United States government, it's U.S. taxpayer money, and the list of requirements that are needed to get into that relationship is, it can be daunting, I think is the best word for it. But, notwithstanding that, I think it's a great idea, and you put on me this idea of potentially trying to figure out how we can do some regular outreach to the community. So I'll give you my card, write me and force me to remember to do that, and we can set that up. Next easy question, solid waste management, very major issue. It's come up in probably almost all of our meetings with the governors. Waste management comes up as a serious issue. And so we are right now, as we speak, having an internal deliberation on what's the best way that we can be involved in trying to advance this issue, to try to take, sometimes it's not a good idea for us to get involved, but we think in this case there might be some ways that we can be useful. And so it's a top priority right now on in our idea of how we try to address the overwhelmed communities by the extra people that they're now taking care of. So you pointed on a major one there, and it is on our to-do. Food security, that's a tricky one for Jordan, right? I mean, you have the Jordan Valley, we have a few areas, but I mean, I think Jordan is the foreseeable future has net importing of food. There's not a long-term solution out of that. We are very interested in promoting hydroponics. And so we've done some pilots of hydroponics, and if you're not familiar with that, it's an enclosed system where you're able to save water, space, energy, and produce high quality fruits and vegetables. And so what we're piloting right now is this idea of expanding hydroponics in the valley and elsewhere in the country, and that becomes a very high value product that Jordan can export. And so it becomes sort of Jordan will always be, I think, interdependent on neighbors and imports. But the question is trying to provide or finding products that have high enough value that you can get more for what you're producing. So that's sort of where we stand on that. On the youth issue, we have a number of projects where we work with youth. I don't know if you're familiar with our Ana Usharek program. That's a program where we're working in, help me out guys, how many universities? 22 universities around the country where we are 30. This is great, we get an audience. All right, that's right, because you were at the Ana Usharek event that we had at GAM a couple months ago. So with this Ana Usharek program, we are working within the university system to get students who are interested in any issue. It could be anything from local waste management to issues related to gender, and they're forming these small little NGOs, and we're helping them with both training and support in advancing those issues and trying to give them a sense of empowerment. And that's just one example. We have a program, the Civil Society Engagement, or CIS, Community Engagement what's the S? Community engagement programs?
That's SEP.
That's SEP. That's
Right.
community. So we have SEP.
Yeah.
So that's working directly with communities, and we often have youth programming involved with that. We also have a program that does nothing but support to the Jordanian civil society, CIS program, and those are also has a youth component to it. So it's a major focus of our programming. Let's see what else. The roadmap on education. Very interesting idea. Probably want to hear more about what you're thinking on that. So we'll exchange cards and be interested in what you mean by that. It's interesting.
It's 40 years. I have worked in Jordan for 40 years. We talk a lot. We don't read. And when we have something written, we can explain it our own way. We need to change that attitude. There has to be an awareness, the value to the people, to the students.
So you're talking about a major kind of cultural transformation. Well, that's not USAID. Yeah, I can say that pretty clearly.
Help us with the
Exit strategies. Exit strategies. So again, that is front and center to the way we try to design our programs. And so we have gone over the years figuring out different ways of doing exit strategies. One of those, if we work with a government, we sign what are called project implementation letters, PILs, as we say in our parlance. And that means that the PIL is signed between me and, say, the Minister of Finance. And that PIL says very clearly what we're going to provide in terms of support and how they agree to take over the running of that program by the end. Now, having said that, trying to enforce the PIL and make sure that happens is always tricky. And so it's a constant battle with us to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to back away and allow the program to continue. It's certainly in the forefront of our goals. It's implementation that we have to try to deal with to make sure that happens. But it's our goal. There's one other point about the resilience piece. And it's related also to the exit strategy. And I think that the realism is here that Jordan is a small country. And again, the work that I did here from 01 to 05 and the things that we were able to do with the Ministry of Planning then and others, and some of the reforms that took place in telecom, in Securities and Exchange Commission, the creation of Aziza, all of those things really from 03 to 08 showed incredible promise, and the growth rates in this country during that period were really astounding. But because of Jordan's size, it had that 2008 crash, the global recession, hit it harder than it did many other countries. And of course, the Arab Spring had another reverberation. And so I think one of the challenges that Jordan faces as a country is to create resilient systems that can withstand the forces that buffet it. But quite honestly, the forces that are buffeting it now are extreme. And I think there has to be a realism to how much the country can withstand on its own. And so I'm very happy that we're able to help as required or as asked. But of course, that's not the end goal. The end goal is, as all of us try to remind ourselves every day, is to work ourselves out of jobs as development people. And that's what we have to focus on. I think I'll leave it with that.
Please join me in thanking Jim for taking the time to be with us.